Ah, there you are. I think I just sent you. There we go. Hi.
Hey there. Sorry, my camera did not want to play nice.
You know, it's weird and I don't understand it. So some people, when they come on, it'll let them turn on their camera, and then others, I have to send you an invite
Yeah,
to turn
that's
on
what
your
it did.
camera.
I was like sitting. I was like, I'm here. I promise I'm on
Girl, I was on time today. That's a feat. Okay, can we just celebrate that?
time. Okay. How are you?
I am very well. How are you?
Good. Very, very good.
I'm so excited. Although I do want to tell you that I just finished The Hunted.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I'm
I'm sorry.
you already know. You already know. I don't know that I'm happy about that.
No.
And I was looking, and I gotta wait till April.
Yeah, yeah, but it's done. It's done. So
Well,
won't be any
that's a
pushing
bonus.
back. Yeah.
Well, I am super excited. We've got some people in here. I was trying to share it. Let's get started. So, y'all, I have Rebecca Royce with me today, and I'm super, super excited because back in my earlier book talk days,
Yeah.
one of the books that are one of the series that I pushed was the Mafia War series.
Thank you.
Because it introduced me to so many amazing authors. Because I found it because of K.A. Knight,
Sure.
and but I'm going to be honest, I loved all of them, and this one was actually the first one that I read in the series,
Thank you.
and I love this series so much. And from there, I went down a rabbit hole, and I found all of y'all. Okay, I'm excited.
Well, thank you.
So
I mean, that is sort of half of the purpose of a co-written series like that. Like, is that, we all come with readership, and then hopefully our readership finds the other authors, and the, other authors find our readership, and, vice versa. So, like, and then the other half is, of course, is just fun. But, that you finding me, like, it's like, thank you. That was exactly what we might have hoped.
I literally like this is still one of my top rated series. When I told you before that I'm obsessed with this series, like I genuinely, when somebody asks me for a why choose series, I tell them go read the Mafia Wars. Just,
Thank
just
you.
go read it. It's
Thank you.
it's fantastic. But you are so much more than the Mafia Wars, ma'am.
Thank you.
I was looking on Amazon because I do try to do a little bit of research before I talk to you.
Sure.
Um, and you've got a lot of books out.
Well, I've been
And
doing it a long time.
I think you might be the biggest one.
In terms of numbers of books,
Yeah.
probably, but I think I've been writing really since my middle son was born. So you're talking about like 15 years of writing books. I mean, before I was published, I was writing books, right? So there are a lot of books out, but you need to imagine it like over the course of 15 years. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
It's impressive because you don't just have contemporary, you also have paranormal.
For a long time, it was all I wrote. But then I started to feel the contemporary bug, you know.
It does seem to be popular, although I was looking at the Super Soldiers. I think that's the next series that I'm going to do.
So the
Because
Super Soldiers I'm doing right now, that's current. I'm getting ready to send the third book to the editor. So there'll be 5 total books in that
okay.
series. The Super Soldiers is actually a spin-off, but you do not have to have read the original series to read the spin-off because there's this whole like break in the universe, so to speak. There'll be no overlap. But it was a spin-off in the sense that I created a world. I wrote 14 books in called Wings of Artemis, which is another reverse harem science fiction series. The concept being that if there is sort of way back, there was a virus that spread that made it very difficult to have girl babies. So now
Oh,
there are a lot more men in the universe than there are women, and it's futuristic. And so they start to form these sort of family groups. But in the meantime, they're also sort of trying to save their universe from these entities that basically want to take it over. So it's like it takes place over 14 books. Each heroine gets 2 books, and then the
ooh,
next book starts the next heroine. So Super
I'm
Soldiers comes from that, but it is its own series, and it's 1 book per heroine. So it's 5 different heroines over the course of the series.
Well, see, if I'm going to read that, then I got to start at the beginning. I'm gonna have to go start and so basically, I'm busy for the next 2 weeks. That's
Just reading
ba-
me.
that's what I heard. I'm busy. I love it. But now, is all of your books reverse harem, or do you have some? Because the ones that I've
Mostly
read.
what I've written for the last bunch of years has been reverse harem. Like again, once I sort of caught interest in that, it's what's held my attention. But I still write male female romance all the
Okay,
time. So I just finished a series called The Redheads. Can't imagine where I
I
was
saw
interested in that,
that.
and that was male female. And everything from my early years was male female, not RH. Yeah.
So what started that train to get to cross over from the single love interest to why choose?
Well, okay. So I started reading first, caught my interest through a young adult series called The Academy, which is written by C.L. Stone.
Okay.
And I thought she was brilliant. And then I found out there were all these other books that were also reverse harem. And I was like, oh, look, Jane Washington has, an amazing series. And I started reading some of the other authors. And it was a very small number of authors doing it at that point, which is crazy because it boomed, which just means that everybody else was catching it like the same time I was catching it. Like we were all on like the train together. And I thought, well, I don't see a lot of at the time. My first reverse harem series was that Wings of Artemis series. And I thought, I don't see any sci-fi in this. At the time, it was like contemporary. There was an author writing paranormal, there was an author writing fantasy, and I thought, I think I could really make this work in sci-fi. Like, in what concept could RH work? And that's where I came up with this idea. Well, you know what, we might have to make a societal shift if there just weren't enough girl babies, right? Like, so that's where Wings of Artemis came. It was harder for me over the years to transfer that contemporary into contemporary, but I have found ways of doing it that I love, that I absolutely love. Yeah.
Now, this is where I should have started, and I got excited because
Oh,
books, and of course, I get excited. So, what initially got you here to start? I know you said you've been writing for 15 years. So, what made you decide one day I want to be an author? I want to write it down.
it's a funny story. So, I had gotten married and we had moved across country, and then I had my first son. I mean, this is not exciting so far. I'd had my first son, and then I got pregnant with our second son. I have three boys. They're all like one's out of the house now. They're older. So, um, and I was pregnant with the second son, and suddenly I just like was reading. If you knew him, it's like this is all his fault. And then I started reading all these romance novels, and my husband one day came home with a book, and he like put it down in front of me, and it was like how to write a romance novel, and he said, I think you could probably do this, because I always had ideas. I'd talk to him like I was thinking about this idea and that idea, and I read that book, How to Write a Romance Novel, and I wrote a book, and you'll never see that book. It was terrible. And then I sent it to an editor who was pretty much like, great idea, terrible execution. So, which was very, very helpful, actually. So then I started to write another book, and that was when I joined an online critique group for romance
Okay.
authors. It was a thing back then. I don't know if it's still a thing or not, but it was like people from all over the world in this Yahoo, that's how old this is, online critique
I
group.
remember Yahoo.
And we would send in chapters, and people would critique them, and we would critique them.
Oh,
And by the
nice.
end of that experience, I had a much better second book. And then there was a online, uh, uh, like a small e-publisher at the time. Self-publishing hadn't quite boomed yet. It was just about to. But they were called Liquid Silver Books, and I sent them my first book. It was called Her Wolf. It's from the Westervelt Wolves, and I remember I was like doing something with the kids one day, and I got the call that they wanted to publish the book, and just sort of took off from there.
I love that.
Yeah. So
Now, are you still with a publisher, or are
no,
you indie? Like,
totally indie now.
okay,
Yeah.
that's what I thought, but I wasn't sure. Um, so, oh, I just totally lost my place.
That's okay.
Um, how do you think, with your background and your experience, like you've written a lot
Yeah.
of characters, you've written a lot of different genres. Um, how do you think that has improved your writing over the years?
That's a very good question. I've been very, very fortunate to have uh, critique partners. That's usually like other authors. Uh, I like, for example, right now and for many years now, I've worked with Ripley Proserpina. She's also writes reverse harem books. Anything I have written really in the last, I don't know, 8 or 9 years, like Ripley has read
Mhm.
before anyone else, and she gives great critique. And you have to be able, excuse me, to take that critique and be willing to make changes. It's very difficult for authors who, the word I always use are like, who are addicted to their own words, like who are like,
Mhm.
no, I will make no changes. Everything I say is perfection. Like, I've never felt that way. Like, I've always felt, and maybe because of my first experience with that editor telling me that first book wasn't any good, like the idea that there is always room for improvement and something to learn. So, my books go through at least 3 rounds of edits, too, professional edits before
Mm.
they're published. I have a content editor, a proof editor, and a copy editor. And I'm not to say that things can't get botched, but like, um, I get a lot of critique on the book before it comes out, and I think it's just made me stronger because
Okay.
over the years, the editors have said things to me like, you're really clean, like you write really clean. This is really well done, and I can't say that that was true 15 years ago. Do you know, like it like
Yeah,
needed a lot of work. Like, thank God Liquid Silver took me when they took me, right? Because I learned a lot through that first process.
that's awesome. Now, if somebody has never read your books ever, like they're brand new to you as an author, where would you tell them to start?
I almost feel like I do this flow chart with that question, like, because I do get asked that, like on the street or at the doctor's office,
Okay.
or like my friend's mother, like they'll say to me, like, oh, where should we start with you? And I always say, okay, it's like a flow chart. Like, do you want to read, one-on-one male-female romance, or do you want to read RH? Oh, okay, well now you've answered that. Like, so if you want to read RH, did you want to read contemporary? Okay, yes, contemporary. Do you want to read lightweight contemporary or dark contemporary, right? And then if they're like dark, I'm like, start with Kiss or Goodbye. It's a trilogy, right? Or lightweight, like start with Reverse Harem Story. Lightweighter. Lightweighter's not a real word. More lightweight. And then, and then, or oh, science fiction. You like science fiction? Wings of Artemis. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I'm always in this.
Okay.
So with me, it's always a question of like, what are you in the mood for?
That's a fair question. And since you have so many books, I can see where the flow chart would be
Yeah,
necessary.
I feel like I'm like always like.
Now, I know this is a terrible
Oh
question
no. Okay.
to ask authors, and I get yelled at for it a lot.
Uh-oh.
So I don't apologize.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
if you had to pick, who would you say is probably your favorite character that you've written?
My favorite character is always whatever I am currently writing.
Okay.
But you asked it for past tense.
Yes.
So favorite character I ever wrote.
Yes.
Um, this is gonna sound like a funny answer, and you're gonna be like, what? But the one character that flowed through all 14 books in the Wings of Artemis series was one particular spaceship. And I had readers tell me over time they started to feel connected to the ship as though the ship were living. It's not, but like they
Okay.
started to feel that way. And so why don't I just say that my favorite character would be that ship that we called Artemis?
I like
Yeah.
it. I like it. It's not a normal answer. I like
Right.
it. Okay. So you've got spice in your books.
Yeah, mostly. Yeah.
Okay. Do you ever have to research that? Like, what does that process look like for you?
That's a really funny question. And the reason I'm laughing is I remember when the boys were little, I would take them to nursery school. And one time I had my husband with me and he came through the door with me to drop off our toddlers. And the secretary at the nursery school was like, oh, Ralph, you must be a very lucky man. And he was like horrified. That's like, it was like a horrifying thing to say to him. But no, I mean, like in terms of spice, like in terms of research, like I do know some authors who they might not confess it to you, but like who have watched porn and stuff like that, like to try to get like an idea of like flow for this.
Yeah.
Like I haven't done that, but I do have editors who are like, one editor in particular used to take out Barbie dolls, and she'd be like, the leg just doesn't do that. Like, so um like I think I have a pretty good idea of what like human anatomy could physically do, but like other than that, no, not too much research. But it is funny because that has been like a thing over the years. Yeah.
When you do reverse harems, like there's multiple people, so it's more than one. So the way that you execute it is beautifully, like it makes sense to me. Like when I read it, I didn't feel like it was not impossible.
Right.
But
So
I'm just curious.
so authors could try the Barbie doll trick, I guess, if they wanted to.
One of my friends that's an author that's Canadian uses brooms.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah.
She uses brooms. It's fantastic. Do you consider yourself a plotter or a pantser?
I'm completely a pantser. If you
Really?
need me to plot a book, I can't, like, I can do it, but then I almost can't write the book because I feel like I wrote it already.
Wow.
Yeah.
That I don't look, after I've seen how many books that you have and to know that you pantsed all of that or majority of that,
Most of
that's
it.
impressive. That is
Thank you.
impressive.
Yeah, that's part of what's fun for me.
Okay. Now going back to you being indie published, what do you think is the hardest part about being indie?
The hardest part about being indie, well, in indie you do mostly everything yourself. So it's
Mhm.
keeping track of all of that, you
Mhm.
know, and trying to get your books out in front of the people who might be interested in reading them. And that's why things like Mafia Worlds is such like a good thing for an author to do if they can, because then you're like, oh, okay, just like I was saying in the beginning, like that's how you found me. Like
Yeah.
I am so happy that you are reading me. Like it's gonna make my week, thinking about that. And but you might not have found me if not for reading Katie. Okay, not, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
so I guess like it's hard in that sense, like trying to make sure that you're seen by everybody who should be seeing you.
I think marketing has been like the general answer for
Yeah.
that question since I started asking it. Now, let's talk about your covers
Okay.
because your covers are gorgeous. I love
Thank you.
them. And I can't even pick a favorite. Um okay, maybe I can. For me it's always going to be Gunmetal Lilies just because
Sure.
that was my intro to you, so that one's special for me.
Yeah.
Um how do you pick your covers? Like what does your process look like when you're designing covers for your books?
Well, Gunmetal was different than most other
Yeah.
covers, again, because that was a group thing. And so
Mhm.
first we had to decide on a cover designer, and we each had one that we, work with a lot or that we really like. And I don't remember how we ended up picking the one that we ended up picking, but she did a great job.
She
She was
did.
great. So Gunmetal wasn't exactly right because we needed certain elements to be the same on everybody's
Mhm.
cover, like to make it look series like.
Yeah.
So we all had some input, but like not entirely my input. And I love it. I wouldn't change a thing. I'm not complaining about that.
I
Like
know.
just explaining that that was different. But
Different.
so again, with the marketing, like the Wings of Artemis covers look quite different than the Super Soldier covers because right now in science fiction romance, people are enjoying the bare male chest.
You're right.
Right?
Mhm.
So that's the current trend for science fiction romance. Also,
That's interesting.
you might see a lot of cartoon covers right now, or books
Yeah.
that you were previously read with different covers have been changed over to cartoon covers. That's because marketing has shown that right now readers are responding to cartoon covers, right?
Really?
So a lot of what we do, I'm like breaking the rules here, I guess, like talking about this, but like a lot of what we do is, yes, we want a beautiful cover that fits our story, but also it's like, what's selling right now? Does that make sense?
You know, that makes a lot of
So
sense,
it's
and
like,
I never thought that was a factor in it. I thought you guys just picked it because
and well, Amazon plays a role because like over the years, the standards of what Amazon's been willing to show have changed. So there were some beautiful, sexy covers that Amazon has said now are too sexy. So we're always like walking this line of like beautiful, fit the story, and yes, it can still be sold.
Yeah, I've heard that Amazon can be fun to not play with. Um, if you had to take one of the series that you've written and it was going to be turned into a movie or a TV series, which would you pick?
Which would I pick
Yeah.
for a TV series?
TV series or
Um,
movie? I would say series more than likely because you got a lot of books.
well, so actually, I think that The Hunted would make a great TV series, the one you just
Okay.
finished. But I also think if you didn't want to do RH, because that gets all like tricky, if you wanted to do a male female series that I've written, The Redheads that just finished would also make a great TV series, I think.
I would totally watch that. I'm here for it.
Thank you.
Um, all right. Well, now that you have all this experience, if you could talk to your younger self and give yourself advice when you first started all this, what would you tell yourself?
You know, branding, branding, branding. I knew nothing about it when I started 15 years ago. Absolutely nothing. I was just writing these books and I was letting the publishers, who I'm not complaining about the publishers, right? But I was
Mhm.
just letting them put it out. I assumed that, they had that knowledge and therefore I did not need to have it. The truth is that I also needed to have it. And if I
Mhm.
could go back to those early days, just to make sure that the font on the covers with my name is the same, is universal, because people will be like, oh, I know her from the font, right? You don't think about that. I wasn't thinking about
Okay.
that. I was thinking about this like old time model before indie publishing, before things changed, where you just tried to like write a great book and people would see it. That's right. Like when you watch movies about like when people used to sell books, right? Like in movies and things like that. It's quite different now. So I think if I could go back and talk to myself 15 years ago, I would say, please spend a little more time thinking about branding because it took me 5 or 6 years to get there. And there were like to realize what was happening. And it
I
was
never
it was a
thought that was
brand
it.
new world. I didn't know it. And I would go back and that's what I would fix.
I never thought about branding being so important, but now that you say it, like I'm sitting here going, there are people like if I saw it in the writing of their name, I would know. Oh, I know who that is.
Yeah, you do. You just do, right?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now I'm assuming at some point that you have had negative feedback because obviously everything isn't for everybody. So tell me how
Sure.
you handle the negative feedback.
I Depends on what the feedback is, right?
Okay.
If an editor is like that I trust, okay, is like Rebecca. like I don't know what you were trying to do here, but it's not working. I will listen to that like 100% and try to make changes because I trust and respect them. And
Okay.
then there's negative feedback that you can get from readers who like one star the book and they'll say things like, not for me. Oh, this was boring. Oh, I hate this author. I tend to ignore that because it's not helpful. Not everything is for everybody. And I can get and behind that, like, and respect that. And then there's sometimes you get negative feedback that feels like almost personal, where
Mhm.
they're like, what are they writing here? Like, or I'll be like, did I do something to this person? Do you know what I mean? Like, have I hit their dog with my car and I just don't remember it? Like, what's going on here? And for those, again, even though it'll feel like personal, I ignore that too. Like, so it depends on the feedback. I am all here for negative feedback in a constructive, like, here's how your book could be better kind of way. Like, you need to learn something here. I get that. Or if I've gotten something completely wrong, like if I wrote something in, Houston, Texas, and I placed it in Houston and they were like, this doesn't happen in Houston. Like, that is absolutely something to learn from, to listen, and to
Mhm.
fix, like 100%. But I am, I feel like negative reviews are not for me. Like they're for other readers and they're for the readers to have a chance to, say what they feel, as is their right. And it isn't for me to respond to. And actually that's advice I give new authors all the time. Like don't respond to your reviews. Don't go on Facebook, post the review and complain. Like it's
Yeah.
it's just like I know that it hurts. Like go for a walk, call your bestie, like whatever you have to do, like don't go onto social media and blast people for reviews. They can say whatever they want.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
sometimes they do take it a little
I
bit
know,
too
but you
far.
know, I said there is like this personal element to it where I'm like,
Yeah,
dude, really? Like, we haven't even
I
met.
don't like those.
Right.
Okay, so this was actually a question that someone in the comments had asked in one of my interviews, and I loved it so much that I added it, and I
Right.
told them I was adding it. Um, when you are no longer an author in many, many, many years, what do you want to be remembered for in the author world, book world?
I would like people to say, like, the hope really is that when they think about my books, like if you're like sitting there one day and you're like, I remember I read this really good book. I read Gunmetal Lily. I remember that book. I really liked that book. Those characters stayed with me. Like that, that would really, be success for me.
Okay.
Like that I've had amazing things. There's one reader who tattooed some of my words onto her arm. She showed me at a signing a few years ago, and um I loved it. You know what I mean? Like, because that meant that like something I had said had really resonated with her enough that she wanted it with her always. Like,
I
if
love that.
if somebody can like feel that I did something to uplift their life in some way, then that's really helpful. I mean, like in terms of when I'm looking back.
So let's talk a little bit about you. Where are you from?
I was born in New York City on the Upper East Side. I've lived a bunch of places, but for the last, I don't know, 12 years, we have lived in Austin, Texas.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you said you're married, you got three boys, so we covered that.
Yeah.
What is your favorite thing about yourself?
Oh, that's a great question. What is my favorite thing about myself? I think I'm pretty kind-hearted. I think that I make an effort for people, and I think that I'm a pretty good friend, and I hope a pretty good mother and wife. Does it make like I'm doing my best? That might be my favorite thing about myself is I know I'm doing my best where it counts.
I think you're a good person because you agreed to come talk to
Oh,
some
you're so
random
sweet.
girl
Thank you. Well,
on the
you are
bus.
so nice. How could I not agree to come talk to you?
I mean, I appreciate that. What is something that you are extremely passionate about?
Something that I am extremely passionate about. Keeping our schools as they are locally in control of our schools, and
Mhm.
you can find me on election day out there advocating for school boards and things like that.
I like that. What is the first job that you ever had?
I sold Cutco knives.
That
Like,
sounds like fun.
I was okay at it, I guess. I sold a bunch of knives, but like you had to go to people's homes and give presentations with these knives and then hope that they would buy knives from you. And then the business model at the time was like, so Mary has bought, knives from you, and then you have to ask Mary to give you 5 or 6 names of other people you can call now to go to their homes and give, presentations of knives. I like really wouldn't recommend this like for anybody, but it was a learning experience of at least something I didn't want to do.
Selling knives, that just sounds like we're walking into like a horror
I
thriller,
know.
like
But true story, 16-year-old me walking around selling knives in people's
nice,
homes.
nice. Let's see. So y'all authors are known for just like Googling and knowing all these random facts. So what is just a completely random fact that you know?
The glass that was used to form the original World Trade Center buildings was built in Pittsburgh.
Nice. I
I
did not know
learned
that.
that last week.
Well, I learned it today. I did not know that.
Yeah.
If someone made a soundtrack to your life, what would be the theme song on that soundtrack?
um, what would be the soundtrack to my life? What would be the song? Oh gosh, there was this old theme song from some 1980s sitcom, and it was on the other day. Like I wasn't like watching it. I don't even know what the show was, but there was like a line. It was like doing the best I can. Like, and I was like, oh, I can sort of relate to that. So that theme song from that
I don't even know what that is.
I don't either,
That
but
sounds familiar, but I
I thought
can't
it's a
remember.
whole it's a whole show about doing people trying to do the best they can. I guess that's me.
Give me three famous people that you would invite to a dinner party. If you had like anybody in the world could come, they could be past, present, alive, unalived. Who are
Okay.
three famous people are you inviting?
God, three famous people that I would invite to dinner. Okay. Um, I guess I really like Maggie Smith, the British actress. I just think she'd be, very interesting to have around. Um, I guess, hmm, Savannah Guthrie. I watch her
Mm.
every morning, so that would be, on the Today Show, so that could be fun. And you know, gosh, if my husband's at this dinner too, then I would invite Drew Brees from the New Orleans Saints because he's from
Okay.
Louisiana, born and raised. So he's a huge Saints fan. So Drew Brees is retired, but Ralph would want him to be
I
there.
love
So I
that.
guess the three of them.
I like that you included your husband in there. That's very sweet. So these questions I added for Halloween, but the answers I've gotten are just fun, so I'm
Nice.
sticking with them. What movie monster or book monster or fictional monster do you think you could win if you got into a fight with?
If I got into a fight with,
Mm-hmm.
could I win?
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay. Uh, I think why don't we say Dracula?
Okay.
Because I could hide. I hide really well. I could hide until daytime and then I could run away. So I've won, right?
Oh, okay. I like the logic
Yeah.
here. Do you think that you would survive a zombie apocalypse?
Would depend on who was with me. Like I could I I'm a terrible shot. I've tried over the years to have people have taught me. I'm not any good at it. So I'm not the person like you want out there, bang bang, getting rid of the zombies. But I could be the person who like helped set up society again, like wherever we were living, like
Okay.
got the children reading, made sure people were fed, but someone else would have to like take care of defending us from the zombies, and someone else would have to, find and gather the food.
I like
So,
it.
so maybe depending on who my companions were, but not because I was winning.
Look, I'm going to take one for the team. I'm just going to trip the zombies. Like I'm just going to lay it down on the ground and I'll just trip them and like try to give you a head start. Like
Right
that's
there.
all I can do for you.
There you go. That's great. That's a great question.
What mythological, supernatural, paranormal creature do you think would make the worst roommate?
Oh God. Which would make the worst
Hmm.
roommate. Well, I write a lot of werewolves. So I'm gonna say werewolves because they're gonna make a huge mess. They're gonna have all these alpha tendencies. There's gonna be all these like rules to the pack that like you're expected to follow. Like I think maybe the werewolf would be a problem to live with. Unless you were
Although,
their mate, right?
do we really hate the alpha
No,
tendencies?
I do not. No. But this is a roommate situation.
This is
Right.
okay. This is true. This is true. But you know, the roommates can always turn more.
There you
I
go. Absolutely. I think I might have a book. Yeah, you've just given.
right? If you were the ruler of your own country, what would your first law be?
Um, 3 day. I'm just gonna make up something random. I'm gonna say 3 day weekends.
Look, I can get behind that. I'm good with that answer. I love that. I love that. Okay, so this question started as fun and now it's expected in all of my interviews is
Okay.
how so what would you do if you came home and you found a penguin in your freezer and it is alive?
Well, first I would get it out of the freezer. I have actually spent some time with penguins. I got to do a penguin experience
Oh.
at the Camden Zoo in New Jersey once. New Jersey is right by um, Philadelphia. So
Mhm.
I've done a penguin experience. So what I know is that they are very easily distracted and they tend and they do nip at the bottom of your jeans and, pee and poo everywhere. So first I would want to get it out of my freezer because I'd be afraid that it was going to make a huge mess. And then I think I would try to distract it with a laser pointer long enough to call
Oh,
animal control.
I did not know that they like were easily distracted. It makes sense. Like it makes sense.
Yeah,
I'm easily distracted.
I
Maybe
am
that's
too.
why I like my penguins.
Shiny objects. Yeah. Yeah.
It happens. Or me, it's more of a ooh, new book.
Right, right.
It happens. All right. So we have got a giveaway, and we're going to do that in just a second. But before we do that, we're
Sure.
going to play a little game of this or that. And this is my book edition. And just know that these are just for fun. Don't yell
Okay.
at me.
I won't.
'Cause there is one on here that I get yelled at for a lot.
Okay.
So physical book or an e-reader?
E-reader, just because I go through so many.
Bookmark or fold the corner?
Oh, bookmark.
Audio book or printed book?
Print.
Morning reader or a night reader?
Night. Although
Unlimited?
I can read all day.
Oh, girl, me too.
Yeah.
Unlimited books or live inside your favorite book?
Unlimited.
Meet your favorite author or meet your favorite character?
Author.
Standalone or a series?
I'm a series girl.
I was like, I think I know the answer to that. Let's see. Are you a slow reader or a fast reader?
Super fast.
Mood reader or planned TBR?
Mood.
Motorcycle romance or mafia?
Done both, but why don't we say mafia more recently?
That's the one that I get yelled at for.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Which, they've even done research, and like technically they're kind of the same thing,
Yeah.
but not really.
Not really. Close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Best friend or best friend's sibling?
Best friend sibling.
So this is going to be a fun one. Reverse harem or single love interest?
Oh, God. Oh. Well, right now I'm writing reverse harem, so we'll say reverse harem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Forbidden love or second chance?
Second chance.
Morally gray or cinnamon roll?
Cinnamon roll.
Morally gray.
Marriage pact or stranded?
Stranded.
Grumpy sunshine or alpha male?
Alpha male.
My kid is in the background
I can hear it.
answering these. They've heard this so many times.
It's so funny.
Fated mates or rejected mates?
Dated.
Fake dating or forced proximity?
Forced proximity.
Age gap or stepbrother?
Age gap. I love writing age gap.
See, but I'm also a sucker for stepbrother.
I know. I haven't done it yet.
Like
I've never
an
done.
older stepbrother? Can we do like an age gap stepbrother?
Oh, there's an idea. Absolutely.
Look, I'm a why choose girly. Okay, I'm always going to go with the why choose. That's
That's
why I
right.
don't answer these questions.
That's right.
Let's see. Blood magic or black magic?
Black.
Dystopian or paranormal?
That's mean. I do a lot of both.
You know what? We can skip that one. That one was
Why
kind of
why choose? Can be dystopian, paranormal.
I like it. See, there's always an answer.
Yeah.
Academia or mythology?
Academia.
I cannot. Them words don't work well for me in my
Yeah,
mouth.
you're doing great.
Hilarious banter or emotional ruin?
Emotional ruin.
Every time. Every time. Dragon or a phoenix?
Dragon.
A werewolf or a kitsune?
A werewolf.
I figured. Vampires or zombies?
Vampires.
And our last one, ninjas or pirates?
Ninjas. That's great.
I love it. All right, so I have our wheel and we're going to spin it.
Okay.
And then after we spin it, I'm going to ask you about book signings and where they can find you and where you're located, so you can be thinking about that.
Right.
I hit the wrong button. They've changed the buttons. Here we go. Okay, so here's our wheel. We had 116 people entered.
Oh, that's awesome.
This is going to be for Gunmetal Lily, which was my introduction to Rebecca, and I love this book. I love this series, so I'm excited that I get to share it with you. One of you guys. And it looks like it's going to be Miss Marianne.
Congratulations, Marianne. I hope you like the book.
Oh, let me figure out how to turn this thing back around. Okay, so I like to end these all the same way. I want them to know where to find you, how to find you, all the things.
Right.
So if they want to find your books, where can they find your books?
I'm pretty much universally on Kindle Unlimited right now on Amazon. So all of the books are on Amazon. If you want to read about them all in one place, RebeccaRoyce.com has all of my books and is the most currently up to date.
Do you have a newsletter?
Yes, which you can sign up for on RebeccaRoyce.com.
I'm writing that one down. I love newsletters because it keeps me updated.
Agreed. I love them too.
Because I'm going to tell you now, I tell all of my authors, I warn you, okay? Now that you've came to talk to me, you're part of my chaos.
I would like to be part of your chaos. That makes me really happy.
I'm going to be like your silent stalker or your silent cheerleader, however you want to look at that.
Thank you.
And then if they did want to purchase signed copies, is that an option?
Yes, they can get a hold of me through the website.
Perfect. And then if they want to find you on social media, where can they go look?
Instagram, TikTok, and I know it's really old school, but I'm still mostly on Facebook. My group on Facebook is called Rebecca's Randomness, and I'm in there all the time, every day. So you can get a hold of me almost instantly, probably on Facebook.
I'm going to write that down. I'm going to join that group immediately. And then there's a lot of author signing events coming up. Are you planning on doing any for this year?
No, and I know that's very disappointing, but my middle son is getting ready to go off to college, and most of our time right now is sort of spoken for, but I'll be back into it in 2025.
Perfect. Hey, I get it. Spend the time. They only grow up once,
That's
right?
Yeah.
Well, Rebecca, thank you so much for coming and chatting with me. I've had a blast. And
I had so much fun.
I can't tell you how much it meant to me to be able to talk to someone, because 2 years ago was when I was getting into reading. So,
right. Well, I'm just really flattered that you asked me, and this has been lovely. Thank you very, very much.
I love having you. Guys, if you haven't checked out Rebecca, I strongly recommend all the books, but this one right here was what got me started, Gunmetal Lily. I loved it. You're going to love it because half of y'all like the same books I do. So go check her out. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us. Bye.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
You're